So thank you so much for joining us for Impact State of Mind. I'm John Paul Parmigiani, CEO and co-founder of Impact Hub New York Metropolitan Area. Impact Hub New York Metropolitan Area is a nonprofit supporting entrepreneurs and change makers through programs designed to help impactful ideas succeed. We work across the New York metropolitan area broadly with focus areas in Manhattan, Queens, Newark, and Morristown. Impact Hub is part of a global association of entrepreneurial communities in more than 100 cities and more than 50 countries. Impact State of Mind is a virtual series created to support the social innovation community during the COVID-19 crisis. So thank you so much for joining for today's session, which is about the Butterfly Club, which is a new initiative being spearheaded by Maddie Gubernick, who is co-founder of the Butterfly Club and also wears another hat as creative lead of Impact Hub New York Metropolitan Area, which makes it another layer of special honor for us to have Maddie on. So Maddie, thank you so much for joining us today. And we'd like to maybe start out hearing from you a little bit about what the Butterfly Club is. What's the vision and purpose, and how did you come about doing this work?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm so excited to be here. Thanks so much, JP, for having me. I'm so excited to tell you guys more about the Butterfly Club and what we've been working on. So we launched the Butterfly Club last year, and our goal was to create a community of conscious consumers and small business leaders alike, who all saw the power of shopping sustainably. So every month we discover and vet 9 new brands who have passed our metric, which I'll get into in a little bit. And then we share the stories of these businesses on our website and blast that out to our community of consumers who want to shop sustainably, but they're not really sure where or how to start. So in addition to this list that we curate every month, we also have a section on our website called Urgent Matters. So here's where we share brands that are creating products in direct response to something happening in the world that needs our attention and our dollars. So for example, right now we have a list of Black-owned businesses you can support in response to the Black Lives Matter movement. We also have a list of companies who are creating products in response to the Beirut explosion. And right now we're working on a list focused on the wildfires in California. On top of all that, we also create neighborhood guides that tell you where to eat, drink, and shop sustainably in a given neighborhood. And lastly, we're currently working on a brick and mortar of our own, but more information to come on that later. So stay tuned. So now I'll transition into a bit of like where this all came from, why I am working on this right now. So I come from the social impact world. Obviously, I have been with Impact Hub for a little bit, and I've always been in the social impact space. And I've always kind of like dabbled in different industries, trying to figure out like where my personal interests are. And I kind of kept finding myself back in the fashion space. We all know that the fashion and just consumer space in general, it's just a mess. It's an absolute mess. It's driven by all these trends that are constantly forcing consumers to buy more stuff, more junk that they don't need. And I was kind of noticing that this sustainable fashion, conscious consumption movement was beginning to gain some traction. But a lot of the big box retailers were using it to their advantage to sell more fast fashion and more things that weren't sustainable at all. And all these consumers were all, whether it's millennials, Gen Z, or all the above, like we're really trying to do better. We're really trying to consume better. But a lot of us were getting fooled by greenwashing and by these businesses that were just using these terms completely incorrectly. And especially while we're living in this time where we really can't, we all know we cannot afford to keep consuming at the rate that we're used to. We know things have to change, but even the best of us who know things have to change and we want to do our part, we don't know how. We're fooled by everything we see around us. We don't know who to trust. We don't know where to shop. So I was really inspired by all these movements happening and was really mad at a lot of industries taking advantage of it. And I just wanted to create a platform, create a community, create a space that gave consumers the tools that they needed to truly shop sustainably, to really shop in a way where their dollar makes a difference and they know that they have a trusted source they can go to that will tell them um, who the real deal is and who is just using it for using the sustainable term for marketing purposes. Yeah, so that's the long and short of it.
Got it. Yeah, and I feel the same way. Sometimes it's really hard to tell. And so I'm curious how you came to determining what was a business that was worthy of our dollars. What's sustainable? What's impactful? What's a good way for us to shop? So how did you come to that, and what are your thoughts around what's good and bad?
Yeah, so as we were kind of brainstorming this idea, we wanted to be very careful to not be yet another fashion blog that was just going to be the cool kid on the block and say, that's cool, buy this because we say so, and don't buy this because we think it's bad. We knew we needed to do our research. We knew we needed to look into what other indicators were out there, figure out what they were doing right, where we kind of may have a lane that is left untapped by those other systems. And again, because I came from the social impact space, I was very aware of what other systems were out there and what other people considered to be impactful. But I'm also a millennial and I am a major consumer. From the fashion world, I shop, shop, shop endlessly. And as a New Yorker, I go out to eat. Like that's what we do. So I saw the two worlds and I knew I had to figure out how both worlds saw what an impactful business was. So that's where I teamed up with my Impact New York Metropolitan family and said, okay, guys, let's figure out how we can make our own metric. Let's base it in fact and research, but let's do it in a way that's accessible to a wider audience outside of the social impact community. For the kind of, nobody take offense to this, but the non-eco-friendly nerds. I know as an eco-friendly nerd myself and a sustainable nerd myself that I know what an impactful business is, but I want to kind of think through it in a way that would be accessible for people outside of our world here. So we meaning Butterfly Club and Impact Hub we narrowed it down to 6 key things that we believed made a truly impactful business. The first was that it's owned and operated by a disenfranchised and or marginalized community. So this speaks to the power of supporting businesses and supporting entrepreneurs that are from marginalized communities and recognizing the power that our dollar can have as consumers to uplift these communities in a different way outside of the traditional social impact space. Number 2 was focused on brick and mortar. So in this digital age of consumption, there's something really important about celebrating the businesses that do have a retail space. There's something really beautiful about going to shop in a physical space, not to mention you're not shipping anything, nothing's getting packed up, and environmentally it can be much better. So we look for brick and mortar spaces. Number 3 that we look for that makes the truly impactful businesses is the mom and pops, the old school family run businesses. That's the American legacy. That's what we do. And that's something that has gotten kind of lost again by these big box retailers. So next, we look for born and bred entrepreneurs who are just solo entrepreneurs that are born and bred their community, and they're focused on creating a product, a service, etc., that boosts their local economy of their hometown. Next, we look for forged and crafted goods. So this celebrates all artists and crafters, ethical designers who are kind of looking into innovative design practices. So this can be anything from upcycling dead stock material for a clothing line to using fair trade coffee that is from a farm that you partner with in an ethical way. Lastly is people and planet. So this is kind of the general one that most businesses kind of fit into the most. And it's just a business that considers the environment as a stakeholder just as important as their customer and their employee. So for this, we can look into anything again from recycled goods to electricity usage to a whole bunch of stuff in between. So like I said, we've been working with the hub to kind of evolve this metric, and we're going to continue to grow it as we learn more about this space, as our community grows and can inform us what do you think an impactful business is? The whole point of what we're doing is that it's open to evolution and can constantly grow over time. We're currently actually working on a scorecard that gets more into detail about all these metrics. So on my end, when I find a business that I'm looking at and going to determine, is it truly impactful, there are certain things that I check off to figure out if it passes this test. And that scorecard we're finishing up and we'll be sharing with the community soon. So that's an exciting thing for all kind of like impact metric nerds out there to stay tuned for, because it's something we're really excited about. And it's a scorecard that any consumer can take to any store and go, okay, I really want to become more informed about how I shop. Here's a little scorecard of things that I can check off either literally or in my head that will help me kind of go, should I spend my money here? Like, is this where my dollar will be put to best use? And like I said, it's still growing, so we're very open to feedback. But for now, those are our 6 pillars of what we're looking for in a truly impactful business.
Love it. I love that framing, and also, how that might even be able to help businesses too become more locally focused over time.
Absolutely.
Too. So that's great. I was wondering if you could maybe walk us through some of the iterations of the Butterfly Club you've had already. You mentioned a few of the series that you've had. As we'd like to learn more and actually see some of this stuff.
Absolutely. So in this last year, we've already gone through so many iterations already. As it goes with any startup, you try one thing, it works. You try another one, it doesn't work so well, so you try something else. But we launched, like I said, last year, and part of that launch was this print edition that we came up with. So on the screen right now, this is a look at our website. Those are our metric points. These are some of the businesses that we're highlighting. And further on in the website, you can see this print edition of a neighborhood guide that we did for Williamsburg. So we came up with a shopping guide where we featured 9 businesses in the Williamsburg, here in Brooklyn, the Williamsburg area, including a boutique full of sustainable goodies, eco-friendly laundromat, a barista-owned coffee shop. So this was a printed out old school newspaper, sustainably printed, of course. And it was a really kind of exciting first step into what we saw this as. And now, of course, as you see on the screen, it's a website. It's a lot easier to share information that way. But there's something kind of cool about having something printed and you can hold in your hands. And the idea was go take it, walk around Williamsburg. There was a map on it. Go find them, go read about them, and then go shop there. So we celebrated this launch with the Impact Hub with JP here, with you. So together we hosted a really awesome launch event, one that I couldn't have even imagined happening for having been around for a few months at that time. So it was during UN Global Goals Week. We welcomed over a dozen small businesses to sell their products in this makers market, which was just such an awesome chance to invite, again, local businesses into a space where they can get to know each other, build a community amongst themselves. And then we invited all of our Impact Hub family and friends and et cetera to come shop with us. And it was just yet another wonderful iteration of what we've been working on. So we hope to do many more similar kind of events, market type things, but of course, with not being able to shop in real time with a lot of people right now, that's on pause, but that was a really, really awesome experience. And since then, we've obviously dove all the way into the website. And to date, we've now vetted close to 100 brands that pass our metric. Again, everything from a footwear brand, which uses Apple as a means for mimicking leather, to a food company that has brought the grains of West Africa all the way here to the US, both of which I was able to interview the founders and just hear incredible stories about how they came to be and also just what it means to be sustainable to them. It's really important to always kind of look to the entrepreneurs and find what how they're being sustainable and how that kind of what that word means to them as a word, as a term that the Butterfly Club we're really trying to kind of take ownership of and redefine. Um, and that's where we're at now. And it's just been so awesome to go from this idea scrambling in our heads to a printed newspaper to an event and now to a website that has, like I said, almost 100 brands already vetted. And of course, we're still working on Instagram and growing our social and doing all those things to share our brands that way. But it's been one awesome year for us, and we're just excited to keep on chugging along.
Got it. I mean, what an interesting time to be starting, right?
I think I lost you for 1 second.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Oh, now I can hear you. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, great. This happens occasionally. What an unusual time to begin this kind of a business, given the backdrop of the COVID-19 crisis and obviously the unpredictability of the markets ahead and how that affects small businesses. I know that you've been engaging a lot of businesses across New York, and I was just wondering if you have any insights over maybe how they're doing. What are some of the things that are really important to consider as now shopping sustainably or consciously, as you're framing it, is maybe much more important than it's ever been?
Yeah, it's been I mean, obviously it's been a crazy time for everyone. It's been a very interesting time to be meeting, like you said, to be meeting these entrepreneurs and small business owners. um, and yeah, I mean, I'm noticing a lot of patterns. Obviously the brick and mortars are the ones that are hurt the hardest, and they're the ones that are having the hardest time um, trying to figure out how to navigate all of this. But I have noticed that among the brick and mortars, it's okay, how do we build up our digital presence? Obviously, it's different for a restaurant versus a boutique, but there's still ways to do it. Across all types of businesses, the one thing I'm seeing is that at the end of the day, if you believe in your business, um, this is where customer engagement and having an aligned value system with your customers really comes into play. Um, because now is the time that consumers are waking up and realizing, if I want my coffee shop down the block that I love, that I go to every morning, to be here when all of this um, goes away, I need to shop there. I need to give them my money. Um, and I think businesses are realizing that customers aren't everything, because you need to treat your employees equally as well too. But they're realizing that this has put everything to the test. And they're all scrambled, but they're all like, if I can make it through this, I can make it through anything. Um, I'm seeing a lot of the businesses that are slow are taking their time to slowly scale, whatever that means for them. They're not trying to be the next big box anything. They know that to be truly sustainable, they have to take their time. They're the ones that are going to make it through all of this. Um, Not to say that we're not going to lose some great businesses along the way, but we're really seeing the role that community and customer engagement plays. And we're seeing that if you take your time, and you don't jump the gun, which is what all of these, when I talk to these entrepreneurs, I always ask for their advice on what they would tell themselves 5-10 years ago, or what they would tell the young kids now who are excited about building businesses. Don't rush it. They always say, don't rush it. Take your time. Be happy with the first customer you get. You might not have hundreds or thousands anytime soon. Be happy with the one you have and treat them like they're your everything. The businesses that have moved forward with that kind of mindset are the ones that are going to be okay through all of this. And they're leaning on each other. If they're a coffee shop, they're asking their other coffee shop friends that used to be their competitors, what are you doing? What's working for you? And they're leaning on each other, which is a really beautiful thing. There you go.
Right. It was only 9/11 a few days ago, but we remember how the city came together during 9/11. It's been beautiful to see examples, as you're saying, where in this crisis as well, people are coming together, and even if they're they've been competitors. In some way, everyone's trying to help each other through, and that's a beautiful thing. I do want to remind people in the audience that if you want to ask questions, feel free to use the Q&A button and make sure you can submit your question to Maddie, and we'll answer before the end of the session. But otherwise, I want to just ask you, Maddie, what the future holds for Butterfly Club. So with 2020 and 2021 now coming soon, we have a better year ahead that we can all depend on. What is your plan with this work? How does it move forward? How can people get involved? What kind of help do you need?
Yeah, so as I teased earlier, we're working on a brick and mortar space of our own. And we're also working on the launch of our scorecard for our metrics. So those are two really exciting things in the pipeline for us. So stay tuned, either subscribe to our newsletter or email us and we'll be sure to keep you posted. But those are two things that we're really excited for. And we're just gonna continue finding 9 brands every month. We're gonna continue finding new neighborhoods to explore. We're gonna continue building out the urgent matters section of the website, although we wish we didn't have to. So hopefully there aren't too many more that we have to do of those. But as any new startup, we're always open to partners, collaborators, everything in between. We're always on the lookout for new brands and businesses to cover. So if you or your friends run a cool little business, please get in touch. We want to hear your story. We want to share it. But we're in it for the long haul. We want to keep growing our community of brands and partners who share our mission and who are just as excited about this conscious consumption movement as we are. So yeah, we're just gonna keep, like I said earlier, just keep chugging along and just keep fighting for the consumption movement that we're really rooting for is gonna move in a brighter direction.
Got it. Well, just so inspired, Maddie, by the work that you're doing and your dedication to supporting all these businesses. It's a beautiful thing. I can't wait to visit the brick and mortar when it opens.
Thank you.
And certainly looking forward to watch and see how the idea evolves, and also the idea of what makes an impactful business, especially in the backdrop of this crisis, which at this point doesn't really have a timeline to it. So we want to thank you so much for joining us for today. It's an honor and privilege, and wishing you all the best, and to our audience out there, thanks so much for tuning in, and we look forward to hearing from you and seeing you again in the future too.
Thank you so much. It was great. Thank you so much for chatting with me.